What's going on, guys? It's been a long time since I've had a YouTube review on the channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about the Feelworld F5 PRO. Full disclaimer, I was sent this monitor by Feelworld for review, but of course I'm going to do my best to create a non-biased review on this product. There are some things I like and some things I don't like about it, so we're going to talk about both of those things, and I will pretty much give you my opinion on it and let you guys decide. So here we go. Cool. Cue intro. So as I mentioned, this is the Feelworld F5 PRO. This is a 5.5-inch monitor. It has a 500 nit brightness, which is one of the things I don't like. We'll talk about that in depth in a second. However, what it does do well is, well, it does many things actually well. Number one, the price is super attractive. Right now, this Feelworld monitor is going for $139.99, which is very affordable. For those looking for an entry-level monitor, this is a great entry-level option. It's very cleanly designed. I love the button layout. There's a ton of different things here that make sense. So we'll go in depth into the things that I really like about this monitor. So let's get into the basics first. The monitor does not seem to have LUT support. As far as I can see, does not have a place to plug in like an SD card or a normal USB. So I believe it does not actually support LUTs, which is one of the negatives. But getting into what I do like about it, one key thing is the HDMI in and out ports. So meaning you can actually run an HDMI signal in, obviously, as it's a monitor. But the out is very important, especially when doing wireless transmitting. So basically, for example, you may be shooting in from your camera or outputting a signal to your wireless transmitter for a client monitor. This is very important. Some monitors do not have a loop through. So very key, and I'm glad they included it, especially again for a monitor at this price. Another thing I do like about it is the amount of 1/4-inch threads that it has on this monitor. A lot of monitors do not have this flexibility in mounting. So for example, it does have one here at the top. It has one here on the right-hand side. It has one on the bottom, as is customary. And then more importantly, it has one here on center back, which is great if you want to mount that with a magic arm. It gives you a lot of flexibility when actually putting this together. So pretty happy with that. And it's something, again, you don't find in most monitors. All right, so what sets this monitor apart from the others? I do want to get into that because there are a couple things that make this monitor special. Number one being USB-C input at the bottom here. So meaning you can run this off a power bank, or in my case, if you run a V-mount, it has a USB output, you can have a USB A to C cable and power your monitor that way, which is pretty awesome. I mean, you don't use it all the time, but mainly because that option hasn't been available. So maybe if you're traveling or on the road, you can use a power bank to be able to view your footage on this monitor, versus having to carry a large NPF battery such as this one. So definitely a plus there, Feelworld. I can appreciate the innovation there. So another cool thing about this monitor is this setup here, which is a reverse NPF battery plug. So in essence, basically you can plug in any device that takes an NPF battery into this slot here. They mainly use the transmitters as an option of what you can plug into this. There's lots of other things that can be plugged into this as well, which makes it very versatile. And overall, I think it may be good to test a little bit more to see how useful this comes in or how handy it comes in. Again, because it has all of these other 1/4-inch threads, they're not only to thread the monitor in, but of course you can thread other things into the monitor. So there are other mounting points for some of your other accessories. Another thing I'll note, and this is relatively minor, but good to note, is it does have these smaller locating holes here that could help with rotation when you have it mounted. So I do like that at least they're putting some indents there in order to keep that from rotating. Of course, the main things this monitor does well is the different power options. Again, it has the USB Type-C. It has a DC in for 12 volt on this side. It does have a headphone jack here, so you can monitor your audio coming from your camera, which again is absent on some monitors, so I'm glad that that was included. It does take your standard Sony NPF batteries, which most monitors take. They're cheap and plentiful. You can get these on Amazon for $20 to $30, and this specific one, which is a FPF 970, does last quite a while. It gives you about 3 to 4 hours on this monitor. All right, so getting to the things I don't love about this monitor, and To be honest, most monitors at this price range suffer from the same issues, but 500 nits is just not enough to work in broad daylight. I will say that in the box I did get a sun hood, but basically they will help from keeping reflections and glare from the sun off your screen. So there are some competitors that have 1000, 1500, 1700 nit monitors or 3000 nit, which are extremely bright and you can see in broad daylight without any sun hood. So that's probably the main complaint that I have on this monitor. But if I'm being realistic, for the price, again, $140 as a beginner's monitor or a starter monitor, again, I mean, really, I'd be hard pressed to find a better monitor for the price, even with the brightness issue. All right, so I want to talk about some of the features of the monitor, first and foremost, that I haven't discussed yet, which is the fact that it is touchscreen. If you double tap, it'll pull up the menu. I love how responsive it is, again, especially for the price. This is actually fairly responsive, and it does have quite a few settings. As you can tell here, it does have false color options, has IRE exposure levels, and overexposure warnings, zebras. You can control your peaking, and it does have focus assist. You can turn your histogram on and off. It does have different camera markers. You can adjust your colors as well, your backlight levels, brightness levels. Some of the settings here, you can flip the screen, things like that. And more importantly here, you can set what your functions do. As I mentioned earlier, there are 2 function buttons on the top, and you can actually set whatever you'd like on these, again, through the touchscreen. So pretty useful because you do have these 2 quick options basically up here, which can be helpful. Instead of having to go through all the menus, you can set these 2 up. According to Feelworld, this monitor does come pre-calibrated from factory. So the colors should be pretty accurate. I found that to be the case. So basically you have your functions. It does have 2 function buttons, a menu button, and of course directional to choose your options. The power button is just 1 click on and off. Again, on this side, I show the HDMI input and HDMI output, as well as a DC input, which is your standard 12 volt DC power. So you can power this monitor from another battery, V-mount, etc. On the bottom, you have DC out. So this is key. I didn't really get to talk about this earlier, but DC out is fairly standard for a lot of monitors, but basically you'll be able to power your camera using this DC out plug. A lot of times this will go to a dummy battery on like your standard A7 or maybe a Blackmagic, and you'll be able to power it all from this specific monitor. Okay, so down here you'll see the USB-C input as well as the headphone jack port, which is slowly going away. Thank you, 2020. And over here, just a simple 1/4 inch thread. So very simple on this side. On top, again, you have another 1/4 inch thread as well as on the rear, and this here plug, which even has the plugs to, again, any accessory that takes NPF batteries, you can actually slot into this, which is pretty cool. So basically this is in essence a clone of the rear of an NPF battery, so such as this one here. So as you can see, basically it is a copy of the back of an NPF battery. There's even the 2 little holes here for the battery section. So in essence, you can take any accessory that takes an NPF battery and plug it into the back. Now you can run a DC power input, ideally from the monitor itself, so it's an all-in-one unit. So you can power both whatever accessory you're running here and your monitor off of 1 NPF battery. You can use the DC out port, which is right here. As you can see, it's very clean on the back. It only has 1 NPF battery slot. So for those looking for dual batteries, kind of like the Animus, for example, which are hot swappable, this is not the monitor for you. But to be honest, most monitors that are not recorders do not have dual batteries. Just something to note. I will talk about this little quirk now that I'm here. The monitor does show, for example, 60% battery. However, the battery level is red. Whether that's due to the battery or the way the monitor works, I'm not positive. I don't think 60% is a reason to have the battery level highlighted red, but just a little quirk of the monitor and something to be aware of. That might mean that it may not be accurate, 60%. So just something to keep in mind when you're monitoring your battery levels on this monitor. So overall, what do I think about this monitor? I actually feel it is a great monitor for the price. I mean, we're talking $140. There's probably 100 other monitors that compete with this at that price point. However, a lot of those monitors are lacking some of the features of this monitor, which I love. Again, the fact that it can be powered off a power bank is huge. It has loop through on the HDMI, has in and out, all the different mounting points with the 1/4 inch threads, and the fact that you can mount both the monitor to something or some things to the monitor is great. The accessory slot on the back here that is like a reverse NPF is pretty intuitive. You could also unscrew it and move it around to shift to give you some space for whatever accessory you're mounting. I mean, lots of really cool features, and it's really unbelievable that the monitor is only $140. So I think it gets a thumbs up for me. There are better options at a higher price. However, again, for the price of this monitor here, I don't know that there's really anything coming close to it in terms of value. So what do you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you have any questions for me, I'll have the monitor. I'll be doing some different tests on my own setups, so I'll be able to answer some of those for you. Until next time, peace.